Morning. We're going to get started. Thank you. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Reverend ALFRED Bradley of Holy Name of Jesus Parish. He is here today as my guest. I would ask all guests, visitors, and members to please rise.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
May I invite you to kindly bow your heads as I open our meeting time with a moment of prayer. Eternal Father, loving God, creator of everything, the author of grace everlasting, we invite your presence upon our gathering today. You are our creator and our sustainer. You are our light and our fortress. You are our wisdom and our strength. We ask for your guiding hand to lead us through this meeting. May we approach our task with wisdom, and may we approach one another with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. We thank you for helping us to accomplish our work this day. You remind us that mighty mountains can become level ground. You take the foundation and you complete what you begin, aligning with your truth. You remind us not to despise the day of small beginnings, as you are the same God who can part any sea, still any storm, and multiply whatever little we can supply. We give thanks to you for calling us and calling our lives to serve others. May we welcome any task you give us, doing it with our strength and with gladness. For you are good, Lord, and we thank you for remembering our nation and our city and our communities, and for preserving our freedoms. We ask you to protect us this day, to bless us now, as we honor your holy name. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend, for those inspiring words. Council will be at ease. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, January 23rd, 2020. And the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting on Thursday, January 23rd, 2020 be approved.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, January 23rd, 2020 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and this journal is approved. And our next order of business is request for leaves of absence. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the members of council, there are no requests for leave today.
Chair thanks the gentlelady. At this time, I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to welcome, and I want to thank everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to witness their government in action. We genuinely appreciate you being here. We hope that this is not your last time being here. So again, thank you so much, and please come back again. This time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson, who will present a resolution honoring the African American Children's Book Project. Would Vanessa LLOYD-SGAMBATTI and those accompanying her please join the councilwoman at the podium. And joining the councilwoman, we have Councilwoman Gim, Councilman Heenan, Councilwoman Parker, Councilman Jones, Councilwoman Brooks, Councilwoman Gauthier, Councilman Dom, Councilman Johnson, O, Bass, Green, Squilla, pretty much everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hold on a second, Councilwoman. Can we have quiet, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today it is my honor and privilege to present the resolution honoring the African American Children's Book Project on the occasion of its 28th annual African American Children's Book Fair. Whereas Philadelphia struggles with a double-digit illiteracy rate among those 16 and older, underscoring the importance of providing children with early opportunities to learn, to read, and beyond that, to develop a love for reading. And
whereas studies show that children who read outside of school coursework tend to excel in other aspects of their lives, book fairs provide children with a venue to explore their curiosity and interests and motivates children to read by offering them a wide selection of different books to browse and
whereas the African American Children's Book Fair is one of the oldest and largest single-day events for African American children's books in the country, with an average annual attendance of over 3,500 children, caregivers, and educators. Rich or poor, no one leaves empty-handed, as the books themselves are priced at a level where they are more affordable, and posters and bookmarkers and raffle books are distributed free of charge to attendees. And
whereas the book fair highlights books that enlighten and empower children and features some of the most exciting children's authors from the multicultural literary community. Its goal is not merely to get children reading, but to foster in them a lifelong passion for the activity that enriches their lives. The event is a product of the African American Children's Book Project. And
whereas Vanessa LLOYD-SGAMBATTI is the founder and CEO of the African American Children's Book Project. She created the African American Children's Book Project to preserve and promote youth literature written and illustrated about African Americans. As a literary consultant, she is a much sought-after expert on trends in diverse books and how to incorporate these books into homes, schools, and libraries. She created the book fair because she believes that all children should have access to books that reflect their image. With the book fair in its 28th year, it is clear that LLOYD-SGAMBATTI's vision continues to resonate within the Philadelphia community. And
whereas each year, to kick off Black History Month, the African American Children's Book Project honors people in the community who open the books and keep the literary flames ablaze in not only Philadelphia, but across the country. And
whereas this year's book fair will highlight individuals who've made contributions to literacy, this year we will honor PICO's Director of Corporate and Community Relations, Ramona Risco-Benson, author Kelly Starling Lyons, President of NBC 10, Rick Harris, and author Tammy Charles. And
whereas Ramona Risco-Benson joined PICO after serving as president and CEO of the African American Museum in Philadelphia, where she led a turnaround strategy, directed a multi-million-dollar building renovation project, and installation of a nationally recognized exhibit on the early life of African Americans in Philadelphia. She serves on numerous boards and committees in Philadelphia, including People's Light, Mayor's Commission on Arts, Culture, and Creative Economy, Philanthropy Network, Women of Destiny, Brandywine River Art Museum, and Mid-Atlantic Arts Foundation. She has served with the Philadelphia School Partnership, Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance, and Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau. And
Whereas Rich Harris is the president and general manager of NBC 10, Philadelphia WCAU, and Telemundo 62 WWSL, the NBC Universal-owned stations serving on the Philadelphia Market Street. He serves on the boards of the Philadelphia Boys Club, the Philadelphia Greater Chamber of Commerce, the Philadelphia Ad Club, the Police Athletic League, the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters. He also serves as an executive chamber manager of BEN, NBC Universal Employees, this is a mouthful, Resources Group, the African American employees. He is the shining light of keeping a corporation, a corporate entity connected with the community at large. And
whereas Kelly Starling Lyons is a Pittsburgh native and award-winning author whose more than a dozen titles for children span easy readers, picture books, chapter books, fiction, nonfiction, and series. For more than 15 years, Lyons has been creating inspiring books that center Black heroes, celebrate family, and appeal to all audiences. Her acclaimed titles include Going Down Home with Daddy, Sing a Song, How to Lift Every Voice and Sing Inspired Generations, the Jada Jones chapter book series, and her latest book, Dream Builder, the story of architect Philip Freelon, and
whereas Kelly Starling Lyons' book, Dream Builder, the story of architect Philip Freelon, shares the moving journey of Freelon from a boy growing up in Philadelphia who loved drawing and building models to becoming the architect of record for the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Lyons counts starred reviews, notable social studies trade books for young people, best of the year lists, Junior Library Guild selections, and a Coretta Scott King Illustrator honor among the accolades her books have received. Two of her books, Hope's Gift and Going Down Home with Daddy, have represented the states of North Carolina and Georgia, respectively, at the National Book Festival's Parade of the States. Lyons is a founding member of the Brown Bookshelf, a team dedicated to raising awareness of Black children's book creators, and a teaching artist who visits schools, libraries, conferences, and festivals nationwide. She lives in North Carolina with her husband and children, where she facilitates a book club for boys that salutes literary treasures from Black authors and illustrators of today and the past. And
whereas Tammy Charles is a graduate of the College of St. Elizabeth. Tammy earned her bachelor's degree in communication and was an esteemed member of the Lambda Pi Eta Honor Society. She received her master's in school leadership and administration from Fairleigh Dickinson University. Tammy holds a school principal certification in the states of New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. She lives in central New Jersey with her husband of 13 years and her 10-year-old son. When Tammy isn't writing, she can be found presenting at schools both stateside and abroad.
Whereas Tammy Charles writes books for children and young adults. Her middle grade novel, Like Vanessa, earned the top 10 spots on the Indies Introduce and Spring Kids Next list, 3-star reviews, and a junior library guide selection. Her recent title included a humorous middle grade, Definitely Daphne, pictured book Freedom Soup, and young novel Becoming Beatrice, which Kirkus recognized as one of the best books of 2019. Tammy has been featured on broadcast for This Is It TV, Good Day Philadelphia, BET, and Good Morning America.
Whereas the 2020 African American Children's Book Fair will take place on Saturday, February the 1st, at the Community College of Philadelphia from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. This year's event is produced by the Library, Media, and Publishing Consultants, and
I want to thank Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson as well as Vanessa LLOYD-SGAMBATTI for hosting this event, and as one of the sponsors of the event, I understand the critical importance of, in this day of technology, that our young people focus on old school reading and learning. Whereas Council has no doubt that this year's iteration of the book fair will meet all the lofty expectations inspired by its history of excellence. We encourage all of our city residents, young and old alike, to discover for the first time or once again the wonders to be found in the pages of a good book. Now and forward be it.
Resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that we hereby honor the African American Children's Book Project on the occasion of its 28th annual African American Children's Book Fair. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Vanessa LLOYD-SGAMBATTI for her hard work and efforts in the promotion of children's literacy as evidence of the sincere sentiments of this legislative body. Thank you so much and congratulations.
And the chair recognizes Ms. Gambatti for remarks.
You know, the optics of all these council people in back of me is so amazing. I got chills up my spine because this is the first time that I've done this in 15 years, that just about everybody. So that's really promising. I'm really looking forward to the next 4 years. And council president says my name perfectively, as they would say in Italian. So on that note, I just want to acknowledge a couple things. Each council person has a copy of award-winning books from our guest presenters here, the awardees, Tammy Charles and Kelly Starling Lyons. I'm not going to take up a lot of time, but I want everybody to recognize that literacy is important. It's not something that you read a book. If you can't read, you can't function. And I'm pleased that a number of council people have come to my aid. Kenyatta Johnson, he was the first person to give me a community grant. I've been rolling along for almost 20 years, didn't even know that the city would help us out with the book fair. Derek Green, Councilman Darrell Clarke, Curtis Jones, and Chanel Parker, one of my favorite people. Okay, Sherelle, okay. I know, everybody stopped like, did somebody get elected and they did not tell us here? Curtis Jones did a project this summer, the barbershops. We took hardcover books into the barbershops. I can't tell you how excited they are. But my mantra is preserve a legacy, buy a book, because books open up a world of opportunities. So I'm going to introduce these people. They're going to make some short remarks, and then y'all can get down to the business of keeping me fabulous by running this city correctly. And our first person is Ramona Risco Benson, and she's here today with her parents, Roger and Mary Crawford, her husband, Herb, and she is the director of corporate community relations. And I can't tell you, if PICO stops giving money to community organization, we in big trouble. So without further ado, Ramona Risco Benson.
Thank you, Vanessa, President Clarke, Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson, all members of council, to my family, colleagues, and friends. I thank you all for being here. I do want to congratulate my brother, Rick Harris, who you will hear from shortly. I think the work that we do in our communities are important things that help to contribute to the well-being of who we are. And I am so gratified to accept this recognition. Kofi Annan is the former UN secretary. He once said, literacy is a bridge from misery to hope, a platform for democracy, and a vehicle for the promotion of culture. He also said it is the means through which every man, woman, and child can realize his or her full potential. The African American Children's Book Fair is now in its 28th year. It promotes the potential of our children through books and reading. It provides the way for children to be introduced to African American authors and illustrators, to rich stories about life, challenges, forming relationships, family, love, and so many other things that children can connect with, and seeing themselves on the pages. We lift up Kelly and Tammy as a part of this because they are, in fact, part of that Sheroes community for their work in this space. And so we thank them for the work that they do. Not only is the event always free, but every child leaves with free books. And PICO is proud to stand with the African American Children's Book Project in this work. We owe a debt of gratitude to Vanesse, our original literary diva, if you didn't notice, for her passion to this work, promoting it, advancing the joy of reading in our community. Malcolm X said that people don't realize how one's whole life can be changed by one book. I agree. Vanesse, for over 28 years, you have been changing the lives of children, almost 1 million to date, by providing access to books and encouraging our children and youth to read. I want to thank you for your friendship, this wonderful recognition, and the opportunity to stand beside you all. Thank you.
About 15 years ago, NBC came to me and said, hey, we want to do a Black History project. And I said, well, let's do something big. And it evolved into giving away 500 brand new books that not only are they brand new, but the person who wrote and illustrated the book is in the room, so the kids have double pleasure. Rick Harris came to Philadelphia a few years ago, and I can't tell you, this man is somebody who's involved in the community. He is someone that is out there. He comes to the book fair, but he really, really wants to do the right thing. And I can't tell you how proud I am to honor him this morning. He's one of the few African-American general managers. He's president general manager. Let me get it right. You don't want anybody to take away any of your titles. So without further ado, Mr. Harris.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. I just want to say that I am proud and honored to be here. And my name gets invoked with this award, but the truth is I accept on behalf of the entire team at NBC 10 and Telemundo 62. When you watch our television stations, you'll see a lot of news and a lot of entertainment and a lot of sports, but what really matters to us is serving the community, especially when it comes to children. So again, we're proud and honored to be recognized, and I also want to say congratulations to my fellow honorees. I want to say thank you very much to all the folks here at City Council, and Vanesse, you are truly the literary diva. And I'll put one on top of that, the literary rock star and godmother and grandmother. The work that you do is tireless. Sometimes it's thankless, but I just want to say we all appreciate you. Thank you very much.
And we're going to make these two short. Kelly Starling Lyons did a book called Dream Builders, and it's about Philip Freeland, who is from Philadelphia. And Tammy Charles, her book is about a Haitian soup that's done every Independence Day, the first of the year. So they're going to be brief, and then we're going to take our photos, and y'all can do the business y'all supposed to be doing here. Come on, ladies, quickly.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Tammy Charles, and I'm the author of Freedom Soup. It's very surreal to be up here around all of this greatness. I almost feel like I'm not worthy, but I'm going to step into my moment right now. I used to come to this book fair just as an attendee. I would come from New Jersey year after year, wishing that I could join the likes of Kelly, not really ever seeing myself in that place. And I didn't have these type of books growing up, diverse books, and I certainly did not have this type of event that Vanesse has put on for the city of Philadelphia. So I am so honored and so grateful to be a part of this event, and congratulations to all the honorees.
Thank you. And I'm Kelly Starling Lyons, and I want to say thank you to Vanesse and to the City Council for honoring us. You know, it's so important to celebrate Black children's book creators. When children see books that are written by people who look like them, they know that there's no ceiling on their dreams. They know that they can also write their own stories and that they matter. And so Vanesse centering us is part of celebrating the children of the city and the children nationwide. So we want to say thank you to the City Council, thank you to the sponsors, thank you to all of you for being here, because you are paving the way for a bright future for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you very much. Council will be at ease. Thank you, and congratulations. Our next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. And Mr. Decker, please read those messages.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to create the Department of Fleet Services, to transfer the functions of certain city agencies with respect to motor vehicles to the newly created department, and to provide for additional duties of the department, and providing for the submission of the amendment to the electors of Philadelphia. And an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia, the proposal set forth in a resolution approved by Council, proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, to provide for the creation of a Department of Fleet Services, to provide for the powers and duties of such department, and to otherwise provide for incorporation of the department into the city government, and authorizing the appropriate officers to publish notice and to make arrangements for the special election, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional communications?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, sir. Our next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 3 bills and 2 resolutions on your behalf, 1 bill and 3 resolutions on my behalf, 2 privilege and 1 non, and do want to note that 1 is co-sponsored by yourself, Councilman Jones, Johnson, Gilmore-Richardson, Thomas, Brooks, Gaultier, Bass, Johnson, Gim, and Green.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance providing for the submission of the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia. The proposal is set forth in a resolution approved by council proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to provide that city elected officials may become candidates for nomination or election to public office without first resigning from their office, and to provide for a limitation on council members and the city controller's terms of office. And an ordinance amending Section 14303 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Common Procedures and Requirements by providing for additional requirements with respect to granting of variances by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia. The proposal is set forth in a resolution approved by council proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to provide for the creation of a Department of Fleet Services, to provide for the powers and duties of such department, and to otherwise provide for incorporation of the department into the city government. And an ordinance amending Title II of the Philadelphia Code entitled City-County Consolidation by amending Section 2-112 entitled City Commissioners to provide for a limitation on city commissioners' terms of office by adding a new Section 2-114 entitled Sheriff to provide for a limitation on the sheriff's terms in office, and providing for submission of such amendments for the approval or disapproval of the qualified electors of the city. And an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter calling on the police department to eliminate the practice of unconstitutional stop and frisk as approved by resolution of the City Council.
That it? Those bills just read by the Chief Clerk will be referred to the appropriate committee.
And a non-privileged resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to provide that city elected officials may become candidates for nomination or election to public office without first resigning from their city office.
Referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter to create the Department of Fleet Services.
Referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution initiating action to establish a neighborhood improvement district in an area that generally includes both sides of North Broad Street, from the north side of Spring Garden Street to the south side of Indiana Avenue.
Referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter calling on the police department to eliminate the practice of unconstitutional stop and frisk, and providing for the submission of the proposed amendment to the electors of Philadelphia.
Referred to committee.
And a privileged resolution recognizing January as Cervical Cancer Awareness Month and commending the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, Pennsylvania chapter, for their work promoting awareness about cervical cancer.
And that will be on this week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the Committee on Labor and Civil Service to hold hearings regarding the safety and well-being of workers in the Sanitation Division of the Streets Department.
Today's calendar. And the chair now recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce 3 privileged resolutions. I'd like to note for the record that one resolution has been co-sponsored by all members of council, and I'd like to be recognized after the resolution is introduced for brief remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privileged resolution recognizing, honoring, and celebrating the extraordinary career and legacy of Blondell Reynolds Brown, member of Philadelphia City Council from 2000 through 2020.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution recognizing January as National Human Trafficking Awareness Month in Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a privileged resolution declaring Philadelphia the City of Sisterly Love for 2020 in tribute to the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution recognizing women's suffrage.
And also today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know most of you will anticipate that my remarks will be centered around my beloved mentor, Blondell Reynolds Brown, but if you want to hear those, you can join us at her legacy event tomorrow. So today, Mr. President, I introduce a resolution officially changing the nickname of the City of Philadelphia to the City of Sisterly Love for all of 2020, co-sponsored by the entire Women's Caucus of the Philadelphia City Council. First and foremost, this is in recognition of the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote. More on that in a moment. This resolution also comes in collaboration with Visit Philadelphia, our city's tourism and marketing organization, led by Jeff Gorsino. 2 days ago at the Met on North Broad Street, along with some of my colleagues, Councilwoman Sherelle Parker and Councilman Derek Green, Visit Philly unveiled a campaign called the City of Sisterly Love, complete with a Philly takeover of Times Square and a billboard proclaiming our new nickname. It was incredible. This is an example of what happens when city leaders in different sectors communicate, collaborate, and say yes, and Councilwoman Sanchez, and. When I learned of the marketing campaign, I said, I love it, and let's take it to the next level. A mentor of mine would say, this is what happens when you invite women to the table. But back to the 19th Amendment. Although the resolution is inspired by the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, the language does not shy away from acknowledging that the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote in print, but not in practice. A vast number of women of color were still fully disenfranchised until the 1965 Voting Rights Act, a fact that continues to elude the narrative about the 19th Amendment. But if we're going to have a full, candid conversation about women's rights, the Constitution, our nation's history, and our future, who better to do so than Philadelphia, the city of sisterly love? And so, Mr. President, what I hope to accomplish from this is to encourage travelers and residents alike to explore Philadelphia and the contributions of women to our city, from our role as America's birthplace to our current role as the only U.S. city on National Geographic's must-see destinations of 2020. Bring your daughters, your husbands, #GirlDad, or plan a trip with your girlfriends. Go to the National Constitution Center to see an exhibit about the 19th Amendment, visit the Marian Anderson Museum, tour the Betsy Ross House, or support a restaurant or shop owned by a woman like our Comics and Coffee House, Aquaba Inn, and my personal favorite, Country Cooking Restaurant in North Philadelphia. And finally, Mr. President, I have to say to all of our male colleagues and allies, this is not about erasing men. It's about lifting up women, because we don't have to put someone down to lift someone up. Since 1682, we have been known across the world as the city of brotherly love. And to recognize a monumental breakthrough of women's rights, the sisters are asking you to please yield the spotlight for 1 year. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. So moved. Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I have one privileged resolution and one bill sponsored by all members of the Children and Youth Committee.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Title IX of the Philadelphia Code entitled Regulation of Businesses, Trades, and Professions by enacting a new Chapter 9/1800 entitled Youth Residential Facility to require an opening plan to be approved by the officer or department designated by the mayor prior to the opening or operation of any residential facility housing youth, all to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the youth.
Further committee?
And a privilege resolution declaring January 30, 2020 Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution in Philadelphia.
And on today's calendar, Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer one resolution and introduce one bill.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 19-1300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Real Estate Taxes by modifying the requirements regarding eligibility based on tax compliance in order to apply for certain tax abatements.
Further committee?
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings to evaluate the efficacy of programs, services, initiatives, and other supports that will be needed to support students in completing their community college degrees and investigate the opportunities to establish and enhance partnerships between the City of Philadelphia and the Community College of Philadelphia to establish career track degree programs that result in employment with the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer one bill and one privilege resolution on my behalf, and two bills and one resolution on behalf of Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance establishing a no parking regulation on King Sessing Avenue from Cemetery Avenue to South 62nd Street.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance establishing a no parking regulation in the vicinity of Cemetery and King Sessing Avenues.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Section 9205 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Sales to permit vending in certain areas in the vicinity of 56th Street between Haverford Avenue and Vine Street, 57th Street between Haverford Avenue and Vine Street between 56th Street and 57th Street.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing and honoring the contributions of W.E.B. Du Bois to higher education, preserving African American history and his study of African American life, and further proclaiming the last Monday of February of each year as W.E.B. Du Bois Day in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to enact House Bill 2140, which would protect against construction-related damage to adjoining properties by requiring contractors to purchase surety bonds.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Keona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two bills, one resolution on your behalf and one resolution co-sponsored by Councilmember Gautier.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Title 19 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Finance, Taxes, and Collections to revise certain provisions of Section 191605 to provide parameters for reducing the accumulated indebtedness of customers who participate in the income-based water rate assistance program.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Title 13 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Water and Sewer to revise certain provisions of Section 13901 to impose restrictions on the termination of service.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution honoring and congratulating Brian A. Hudson Sr. on the occasion of his retirement following 45 years of loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, including the citizens of the city of Philadelphia.
And today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and the Homeless to conduct hearings to consider how programs and policies of the Philadelphia Water Department and the Philadelphia Department keep cost-burdened families safe and healthy in their homes.
Today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Good morning, Council President. I have one bill, one non-privileged resolution, and two privileged resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Chapter 93400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Energy Conservation by amending Section 93403 entitled Solar Panel Incentives, amending certain definitions.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on People with Disabilities and Special Needs to hold hearings to examine current and best practices on secondary transition services for Philadelphia public school students.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution authorizing City Council's Committee on Commerce and Economic Development to hold hearings regarding comprehensive qualitative and quantitative efforts to improve the ease of doing business in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution supporting the National League of Cities Together Cities agenda for the 2020 U.S. presidential election.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Brooks.
Good morning, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Good morning, Council President. I have one privileged resolution today.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution celebrating the lives of Philadelphia area native and basketball phenom Kobe Bryant and that of his daughter, Gianna Bryant, upon their tragic passing and honoring a distinguished legacy of athletic excellence and off-court leadership.
Today's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gautier.
Good morning, Mr. President. No bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Good morning, Council President. No new bills or resolutions to introduce today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 5 bills today.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of South 13th and Kimball Street, Juniper Street and Catherine Street, Carpenter Street and South 6th Street, East Passyunk Avenue and Kimball Street, South 12th Street and Catherine Street. And an ordinance authorizing Independence Park Hotel to construct, own, and maintain a proposed exterior building ramp at 235 Chestnut Street. And an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of North 3rd Street and Fairmount Avenue, Wildey Street and Marlborough Street, George Street and North 2nd Street, Salmon Street and Columbia Avenue, Montgomery Avenue and Wildey Street, Oriana Street and George Street. And an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning to revise certain provisions of Section 14500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Overlay Zoning Districts by modifying the CTR Center City Overlay District Society Hill area to create additional standards concerning height, parking, signs, and special reviews, and making related changes. And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Walnut Street, Front Street, South Street, and 8th Street.
Those 5 bills just read by the Chief Clerk will be referred to the appropriate committee. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer no bills or resolutions this week.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I offer one privilege resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing and honoring the 2019 winners of PHL Live Center Stage.
And that will be on today's calendar. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. We have no reports from committee today. So our next order of business is consideration of the calendar. There are no bills on the first reading calendar, so the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker for the purpose of calling up resolutions and bills on the second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions are being called up from the second reading and final passage calendars today. Numbers 200041, 200047, 200061, 200062, 200063, 200064, and 20068.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Before we vote on any bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar, today we will have our public comment session. It will go as follows. If you have an interest in testifying on a bill or resolution that is on the final passage today, was a little lenient last week, allowing certain speakers that did not reference what was on the calendar, but today we have to get back to the original format. Must be on the final passage today. If you are interested and if you haven't signed up, you can sign up at the table to my left. When your name is called, you will go to the podium in the middle of the council chambers. There's a device. When a light turns green on that device, you will have 3 minutes to speak. When the lights turn yellow, you will have 30 seconds. When the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to our guidelines and conclude your remarks. Thank you very much for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, please call the first name on the list.
Kyle Williamson. Commenting on 200047.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Kyle Samuel Williamson, and I'm here to make a stark rebuke to the idea of the proposed item 200047, introduced by Council members Council President Clarke, Council members Jones, Parker, Johnson, Dom, and Green. This resolution is a sham. And to sit up here and include gun violence with the health crisis that we have in our city is nonsense. We have a real physical health crisis in our city. There is no need for us to be sitting up here spending tens of millions of dollars to a council to go forward for a frivolous lawsuit that will go nowhere, that is not tangible for our people. I walk these city streets every day. I feel the heartbeat of my city. How many of y'all can sit up here and say you can walk through any neighborhood in this city with no gun, no protection, no nothing, and feel the heartbeat of your city? Come on now. Like, we have to sit up here and think about our community and our future. For the city of Philadelphia to waste taxpayers' money on this lawsuit is not only immoral but unconstitutional. The city of Philadelphia would be wasting tens of millions taxpayer dollars on a lawsuit bound to not be successful. This retroactive, emotional, arbitrary act of creating laws to a deterrent of a problem without addressing the cause is a problem to be proven to be more detrimental to society than help out the people that it's supposed to protect. If we sit up here and appoint a standing committee to gather real tangible data and more information to make more informed decisions to address this health crisis we have that leads to violence. We need to address how social media affects the violence in our city. We need to address how our neighborhoods, our quality of living, gentrification, our education, everything. Gentrification is good, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. When you got a community that feels like they're being left down, and you got people coming in, taking what they think that is theirs, you get a resistance. You get anger, anxiety, and frustration. And with this mental health crisis that we have, that anger, frustration, anxiety doesn't turn into somebody coming here to speak. It turns into somebody acting out in violence, and they just choose a gun. We need to get to the root cause, which is the individual. We need to address the individual cause of the problem, not some arbitrary act of gun violence that is going to it's no arbitrary act of a gun law that in reality is going to sit up here and be more detriment to the people. And it's been decades. I've been born in this city, 1981, in the city of Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania Hospital. Since then, I've encountered race riots as a little kid trying to explore my city. I remember getting off the L on Allegheny Avenue, going towards Aramingo as a young boy, being chased by white teenagers and everything like that. But still, the feeling in the city was a community feeling. We didn't have this sense of non-community in our community. And I would just like to thank the city council and everyone for listening to me, and have a good day.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Joe Danahill, commenting on 200047, 200064, and 200068.
Good morning.
Morning. Now there's two of us that recognize that this body operates unconstitutionally. This is the official decree of the people, and writ mandamus quo warranto, as such requires immediate action remedy. Every week, council, mayor, governor, and others transfer private property to the government, probably unlawfully. Was it announced last week that oath Constitution and law-bound officials would be wasting taxpayer money to sue for the permission to violate oath Constitution laws and Cooper v. Aaron, 358 U.S. 1? Have officials repeatedly violated oath Constitution law, in my case, over 110 times. Violating one's oath to God is correctly identified as treason and requires your prosecution. If committing one crime one time would land persons in jail, why hasn't the Attorney General investigated and prosecuted in my case? Aren't constitutional contracts binding anymore? The Constitutions require immediate remedy of this breach of law, breach of clause, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987. 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 2381, 2384. PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 28. 26 PA CSA, 703, 705, 708, 709, 711, 712, 713, 716, 902, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 158965, 141330, 144056 appear violated. I call on the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming Avenue, the denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 26 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color of all government must have its charter of government revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require oath, constitution, and law be enforced, and jail is required for all who violate oath, constitution, and law. I remind council every week it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow all of this monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony.
Fredo Thomas. Commenting on 200047.
Name Fredo Thomas Trice. I agree with everything what that brother said. The reason gun violence is a problem because many people die homeless as by gun violence. I'm not going to talk for a long time because I'm not good with talking, period. So if people have homes and have a safe place to live, gun violence wouldn't have a problem. That's all I got to say.
Jennifer Benich. Commenting on 200047.
Yes, I'm here to say that I oppose Resolution 200047. Oh, Jennifer Benich. The city has lost its mind, thinking that it's going to go and waste hundreds of my tax dollars and our tax dollars and years suing the state of Pennsylvania. When the city of Philadelphia, the people of the city of Philadelphia need an attorney to stand up and sue the city of Philadelphia for acting in gross negligence in addressing the root factors of the causes of gun violence, such as poverty, lack of education, gentrification, the mass devaluation of human beings and their culture and their existence and their neighborhoods. The lack of resources and the proper ability for the city to deal with the issues of violence. There's no lawsuit, there's no law. How many people that are out here shooting and murdering people go and look in a law book before they go and pick up a gun? Do you think that people just wake up and shoot people? This city is hurting because of what you guys are doing. I've been in a place where I've had nothing to lose. And when I had nothing to lose, I've done crazy things. But the difference between then and now is that not only do people have nothing to lose, they have nothing to gain. Because they know. They know it's hard. 10 years ago, when I was homeless, you could get a minimum wage job and work yourself up off of these streets. Now, you need to be making over $100,000 a year. You need $4,500 to $5,000 to move in to an apartment. So now you have people that not only have nothing to lose, they also feel like they have nothing to gain. So what do you think is going to happen? Then you have no resources. My husband wasn't shot, but he was stabbed in his head back in 2016 and almost died. And this was in November, and the situation started in May, a petty dispute with neighbors, and this was after those 7 months straight of running in and out of every police station, city council office, begging and pleading for help, for conflict resolution, getting drug out, getting kicked out, getting looked down on, and the situation spiraled out of control. And then even when it ended up in court, and we begged the judge and the courts, can we not lock these people up and put them on probation because we still live in the same neighborhood and we're still going to hate each other and we're still going to be mad every time we see each other? Can we have a professional mediation? No, the system doesn't work like that. Nobody wants to call the police because then when you get emotional, they lock you up. There's no conflict resolution in this city. If I don't get on this microphone, is anybody going to talk to me and resolve the conflict? No. You guys are going to exert your power and have me removed from this building. You do not have a right to rob us of our tax dollars and our time and use lawyers and money and resources that could be used to address the root issues that are causing this gun violence. This city has lost its mind. And I hope that a lawyer, or maybe I'll just do it, I'll study the books. Somebody needs to sue this city for being grossly negligent in dealing with the root causes of gun violence rather than robbing us of our tax dollars and filing a frivolous lawsuit that's not going to go through. And if it does, it's going to be appealed 100 times over and then questioned by the federal government. You lost your damn mind.
Thank you for your testimony.
Angela Reese.
Morning.
Angela Reese. Greetings, Mr. President, City Council members, and visitors. My name is Angela Reese, as I stated, author and editor of Digital Media Resource for Cervical Cancer Awareness and Disabilities Inclusion Excellence Advocacy. I'm also a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Pennsylvania chapter, and I am a 10-year cervical cancer survivor who was, thank you, who was paralyzed from the waist down for 6 of my 9 years, well now 10 years surviving. I just celebrated 10 years. Thank you. I'm also the chapter leader for the National Cervical Cancer Coalition, Pennsylvania, Northwest Philadelphia chapter. And thank you to Sister Parker for hosting today. I have remarks regarding the introduction of the cervical cancer resolution by Councilwoman Parker. So I have a call for legislative action that I would like to read. Cervical cancer elimination requires addressing racial disparities. Black women die at higher rates. The National Cervical Cancer Coalition, a program of American Sexual Health Association, in strategic community collaboration with the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Pennsylvania, and Angela Reese's TheSurvivorDiva.com digital resource for cervical cancer awareness, all recognize January as Cervical Cancer Awareness Month and urge every woman to make a New Year's resolution to talk with their healthcare provider and their healthcare provider about cervical health, to have the conversation and learn what each one of us can do to make the elimination of cervical cancer within the next generation's lifetime a reality. Experts say that this is possible if we scale up access and provision of HPV vaccination in marginalized communities of color, ease of access to cervical health screening, and effective treatment of precancerous conditions is also necessary to reach the goal. The industry just needs to reassure the public that the shots are safe and available for the attitudinal barriers to getting the vaccine. The World Health Organization has issued a call to action on a global elimination of cervical cancer, which they report is within reach within the next generation's lifetime. The next Us versus HPV webinar is January 27th through 31st, 2020, if everybody wants to see it. It's at the Global Initiative Against HPV and cervicalcancer.org. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, ma'am.
Harry Barnum.
Hello, my name is Harry Barnum. I'm a deaf outreach coordinator. Good morning, everyone from City Council and President Clarke. I see new faces here this year. I'm speaking on bill number 200041 regarding the Social Security Administration. I would like to encourage everyone here to vote no. Deaf and hard of hearing people and any disabled person using a wheelchair, being required to go every 2 years and be reevaluated and approved, that's a terrible change to do that every 2 years. That needs to be removed. To have all these people all over the United States have to apply and be tested and go through this elaborate process every 2 years, I feel that you should vote no and have the Social Security Administration remove that requirement. People who receive their Social Security benefits are in danger. And I am in touch with the deaf community, and many people don't know about this. They're behind in the information. This is not appropriate. And we, the disabled community, it's very difficult for deaf and hard of hearing people. They're all coming up to me and so worried and concerned about this change. So this vote would truly go against the community. So please stop, and I urge you all to vote no for this 2-year re-eligibility. Thank you.
There are no other speakers in the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. We'll now move to our calendar. And Mr. Decker, if you can please read the title of 200041.
A resolution urging the Social Security Administration to withdraw its proposed rule to review disability benefit eligibility every 2 years, which would put thousands of people in danger of losing their benefits over the next 10 years in the city of Philadelphia, and millions of people at risk across the United States, and expressing opposition to the proposed rule as inhumane and contrary to public health.
The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Hi, thank you very much, Council President. I did want to very clearly clarify for the audience what this resolution actually states. The current administration is proposing that the administration require those who receive disability benefits to have their benefit eligibility reviewed every 2 years. This resolution urges the Council of Philadelphia to call upon the administration to remove that requirement and to ensure that those who have suffered extreme hardship to prove their eligibility should not have to do so on a repeated basis. That requirement will remove a tremendous number of people here in the city of Philadelphia from the rolls. We estimate at least 16,000 children could be denied SSI benefits alone, and that does not include the broader adult population. So for clarity, the resolution will serve as the city of Philadelphia and our council's public comment that this administration should not continue with their proposal to require individuals receiving SSI and other disability benefits to prove their eligibility. So for anyone who misunderstood that, I apologize, but our resolution very clearly does not support the Trump administration's proposal right now and will serve as a form of public comment on behalf of our city council.
Okay.
So thank you for doing that, and I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye. Those, we were.
Yeah. And so we just wanted to make sure that Mr. Barnum was clear and understood about the clarity around that. So thank you, Majority Leader.
We'll start over again.
Yes, and I would like to move for the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and resolution 200041 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, 200047.
A resolution authorizing council to retain counsel to file a lawsuit compelling the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to carry out its obligation to protect the citizens of Pennsylvania by enacting or authorizing municipalities to enact common sense, constitutional legislation that addresses the public health crisis of gun violence.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 200047 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, 2000 061.
A resolution supporting the inclusion of Mifflin Square Park and the 7th Street corridor in the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts Creative Communities Pilot Initiative as proposed by the Southeast Asian Mutual Assistance Associations Coalition.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 20061 has been adopted. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
No, let's count. I think you missed
Council
one.
President, I want to be voted aye on all bills and resolutions that I missed. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Let the record reflect Councilman Johnson voted aye on 200041. Councilman Squilla, we did yours?
We
good.
A resolution
All right.
also naming South Clarion Street between Reed and Dickinson Streets as Anna DeFusco Way.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 20062 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, 20063.
A resolution authorizing the appointment of a chief ethics officer for the Council of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 20063 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, 20064.
A resolution authorizing requests to the Law Department to represent City Council in appeals from decisions of the Philadelphia Zoning Board of Adjustment, and, if the Law Department declines to render such services to City Council, authorizing the retention of outside counsel to provide such services.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 20064 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, 20068.
A resolution approving the reappointment of Andre McCoy to the Veterans Advisory Commission.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Council President. On your behalf, I make a motion for adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 20068 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution recognizing January as Cervical Cancer Awareness Month and commending the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, Pennsylvania chapter, for their work promoting awareness about cervical cancer, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Labor and Civil Service to hold hearings regarding the safety and well-being of workers in the Sanitation Division of the Streets Department, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing, honoring, and celebrating the extraordinary career and legacy of Blondell Reynolds Brown, member of Philadelphia City Council from 2000 through 2020, introduced by Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I enthusiastically move for the adoption, and I respectfully request a standing vote on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Give it a second. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing January as National Human Trafficking Awareness Month in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution declaring Philadelphia The City of Sisterly Love for 2020 in tribute to the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution recognizing women's suffrage, introduced by Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson.
Chair one more time recognizes Councilwoman Gilmore-Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution declaring January 30, 2020, Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution in Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Education to hold hearings to evaluate the efficacy of programs, services, initiatives, and other supports that will be needed to support students in completing their community college degrees and investigate the opportunities to establish and enhance partnerships between the City of Philadelphia and the Community College of Philadelphia to establish career track degree programs that result in employment with the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Heenan.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the contributions of W.E.B. Du Bois to higher education, preserving African American history and his study of African American life, and further proclaiming the last Monday of February of each year as W.E.B. Du Bois Day in the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and congratulating Brian A. Hudson Sr. on the occasion of his retirement following 45 years of loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, including the citizens of the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Sanchez on behalf of Council President Clarke.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Housing, Neighborhood Development, and the Homeless to conduct hearings to consider how programs and policies of the Philadelphia Water Department and the Philadelphia Department keep cost-burdened families safe and healthy in their homes, introduced by Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on People with Disabilities and Special Needs to hold hearings to examine current and best practices on secondary transition services for Philadelphia public school students, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council's Committee on Commerce and Economic Development to hold hearings regarding comprehensive, qualitative, and quantitative efforts to improve the ease of doing business in the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution celebrating the lives of Philadelphia area native and basketball phenom Kobe Bryant and that of his daughter Gianna Bryant upon their tragic passing and honoring a distinguished legacy of athletic excellence and off-court leadership, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
I'd like to ask for a standing vote on this, but move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. Please stand. The standing count. Resolution has been adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring the 2019 winners of PHL Live Center Stage, introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution has been adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. Are there any speeches on behalf of the minority? Speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. First and foremost, I just want to say, I know we kicked off this week with some distractions, and I just want to, first and foremost, thank my colleagues who have reached out to me via telephone and those who have sent me text messages of encouragement and support. And nevertheless, the work of advocating on behalf of the citizens in the 2nd Councilmatic District in the city of Philadelphia must move forward. And so I want to acknowledge the support that I've been receiving from my colleagues, and I also think it's unfortunate, just based upon these overreaching circumstances, that I know it has put some of my colleagues who are doing the great work in this body in general in a precarious situation. But nevertheless, the work here in the city of Philadelphia must be done. Last evening in South Philadelphia in the 2nd Councilmatic District, I attended a community meeting sponsored by Girard Estate area residents where more than 300 people packed St. Monica's school gym were concerned about what the city leaders do to make them feel safe in neighborhoods and homes. Early this morning, a 4-year-old boy was shot and killed during a home invasion on Lambert Street and West Susquehanna Avenue in North Philadelphia. And the latest media reports say that the father had been home with the 4-year-old victim and the younger child while their mother was at work when the police arrived on the scene. The father was downstairs holding the younger child, who was found upstairs in the bedroom unconscious and unresponsive. The murder of anyone in the city, especially a child, is unacceptable. I want to thank my fellow colleagues for overwhelmingly approving my resolution last week authorizing the Special Committee on Gun Violence to hold hearings to examine the effects of gun violence on victims and co-victims, as well as the resources available to them. The hearing will be scheduled on Wednesday, February the 12th, in this room, room 400, in City Council chambers. Last week, I held a 4-hour meeting with the Special Committee on Gun Violence, where we looked at examining what are our strategies and the leadership here in the city of Philadelphia as it relates to us addressing the issue of gun violence and making sure all of our neighborhoods, and most importantly, our children and our citizens are safe. And so, Council President and members of the body, I just want to say this is a very critical issue that we must remain focused on, and I look forward to hosting this hearing and addressing this particular issue of gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. First, I just want to remind colleagues and City Council staff and other people that work in this building and people who can hear my voice that next Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. We'll be hosting a blood drive at the Municipal Services Building, which is 1401 R Street, 16th floor. In addition, outside of the council chambers, there are representatives from the Red Cross to sign people up to give blood. I've been a blood donor for a number of years, actually going back to law school. It's a very important issue. So those who give blood in the past, please sign up so you can give blood for the Red Cross. It's very critical that we provide blood for the Red Cross for all the wonderful, great things that they do. Also, I want to remind my colleagues we'll be having a brief gathering and luncheon across the hall in the City Council caucus room, being sponsored by the National League of Cities. The National League of Cities is the voice of America's cities, towns, and villages, representing more than 200 million people across the country. Our communities may look different, but we are all united by our desire to serve our residents. The NLC's mission is to strengthen local leadership, influence federal policy, and drive innovative solutions. They offer a number of opportunities to their members, including a research team of subject matter experts and partnerships with key private sector and nonprofit organizations to help them address the most pressing challenges in our communities. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our colleague, Councilmember Brian O'Neill, who's a past president of the National League of Cities. Many people in this room know that my Former boss, Councilmember Marion Tasco, is a past member of the Board of National League of Cities. And you, Council President, you've also taken leadership on a national level. I'm not sure that everyone knows that, by bringing together council presidents from around the country. You started that initiative. You hosted council presidents from various cities here in the spring of 2019 and helped kick off that conversation. I know they've been at various cities around the country, including New York and Chicago. And recently I was fortunate enough to get elected to the board of the National League of Cities. So Timothy Evans from the National League of Cities will be across the hall, and we'll have a little get-together and luncheon for my colleagues. Hopefully you can attend and learn more about the great work that National League of Cities does around the country. And also, I will close with this: the water sewer line protection program that we started last term was as a result of the work that our Councilmember Brian O'Neill and Councilwoman Marion Tasco advocated for bringing that to the city of Philadelphia. We were able to get that done last term, and we have over 76,000 residents who signed up for that program as a way to address issues like water sewer line problems. And we just had a briefing just yesterday with the Philadelphia Energy Authority about the work they're doing. So hopefully my colleagues will be able to join me this afternoon in the caucus room with the National League of Cities.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you for your continued great work with the NLC. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Council President. I want to join some of my colleagues who have personally already thanked publicly Governor Wolf for what Mayor Kenny called a bold decision to put forth a proposition to get over $1 billion in facilities and capital money to all districts across the Commonwealth, but especially given the needs here in the city of Philadelphia. Many of you have watched through the FLC SLA situation, and most recently in my own elementary school of McClure that opened up yesterday, the conversation that was started by the Healthy Schools Coalition and through the work of the school district and identifying what we know will be over 170 buildings that in some shape or other will need some level of remediation so that we can make the buildings safe. I want to thank the Healthy Schools Coalition, the PFT's work in this, but especially the parents and teachers who have been really strong advocates for fairness and equity in our approach to this. And that's why I continue to join you, Council President, and others in calling that the district standardize a process that empowers at every single school a task force that includes its stakeholders, parents, and teachers, and that they determine the scope of work that is necessary, and they determine when they feel their school is safe. Councilman Heenan last week talked about the issue of needing third-party validation when we can't get an agreement about what is healthy and safe. Anything and everything to make people trust what has been a very complicated and sometimes not so transparent process where people do not trust the process, and we have to do whatever is necessary for parents and teachers and the folks who work at the schools to have faith in a process. I look forward to, in my new role as Chair of Education, in enhancing the relationship and the dialogue between the school board, the local school board, and our Education Committee, and obviously City Council in the conversation. This $1 billion, hopefully leading to hundreds of millions for the city of Philadelphia, will put us on the right course and hopefully a plan for how we deal with buildings. And then I want to reset so that we can get back to the conversation of what the school district should be doing, which is educating our children. In that discussion, we need to talk about the minimal incremental increases that in academic improvement and get back to the business of funding our schools so that we can invest in the people in the buildings so that we can have better academic outcomes for our children. That, I will challenge everyone, that will be a much more difficult conversation than whether a building is clean or not. I look forward to that conversation. I want to continue to thank my colleagues that over the last 12 years that I've been here have not been gun shy about putting dollars on the table over $500 million just in the last couple of years. But ultimately, we cannot do this alone. The state has to provide its fair share, and I look forward to the fall legal debate around what is fairness and equitable funding for our school district. Thank you very much. I want to thank Governor Wolf. I look forward and I encourage all of my colleagues to use their forums, their platforms, to encourage our state delegation to support the governor and get their allies across the state to do what is a small step in us getting to a good education. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Thomas.
Thank you, Council President, and I also want to thank Councilman Dom as well as my colleagues who all signed on to the resolution respecting and honoring the life and legacy of Kobe Bryant. As the residential basketball coach on council, I felt it my obligation and my duty, as well as the youngest member of council, to say a few words as it related to Kobe Bryant and his passing away. For me, I grew up, born and raised in the city of Philadelphia. I pride myself on being an intricate part of the basketball community and just being in classrooms in the city of Philadelphia. I didn't have a classmate named Kobe my entire journey through high school, but by the time I got to college and became a high school basketball coach, there were a number of children all across the city of Philadelphia named Kobe as it became a household name. And so for me, it speaks to his influence, not just on our city, but on the entire country. And as a country, as we mourn, but specifically for us in Philadelphia, as a Philadelphia basketball community, as we mourn his life as well as his death and his legacy, I just wanted to take a few minutes to honor him. Over the last 50 plus years, there have only been 3 MVPs in the NBA to pass away, and all 3 of those MVPs, Wilt Chamberlain, Moses Malone, and Kobe Bryant, has ties to Philadelphia, and it speaks to the greatness of our city, specifically the basketball community here in the city of Philadelphia. So I wanted to again thank Councilman Dom, thank you to my colleagues, and offer my thoughts and prayers not to just his family, but all the families who were a part of that tragic accident that occurred over the weekend. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not know how you do your job, standing there in a stoic fashion, taking hooks and jabs all of the time, when you're trying to do your best to make our city safe and have to expose yourself to that. I don't sit up there, so I don't have to. So I want to say that it is not a question of or, but a question of and. When I came in 2008 here, you were fighting gun violence and took it to the NRA and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I, as a freshman, realized that we were legally liable for intervening in the constitutional right to own a gun. And therefore, we were told, cease and desist, or you personally, your house where you live, could be taken from you because of you standing up to that. So for us to introduce a bill that would pay for a lawyer so that once again we could take the fight to them, I'm okay with. I want you to know that since that time in 2008, over 3,600 murders in the city of Philadelphia. There are 36 year to date. More than one a day happens on our street. So it's not a question of or, it is a question of and. And we will fight poverty, and we will increase education, and we will take it on as a health crisis. But we are not scared. We will step up, and we will do what we have to do to protect our babies. I always heard one of the reasons I voted for you, Councilwoman Gilmore, is because you said someone's longevity should not be dictated by their zip code they live in. I believe in that. And I believe we have to fight back. We cannot sit and take it on the chin. These bullets do not know districts. They do not know ages. They do not know races. They just do what they do. So we have a sworn obligation to step up for our constituents, and I take it on zealously. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Isaiah Thomas, for his words in reference to the passing of Kobe Bryant. As someone who has a classmate married to a sister, this is a tragedy not just for us in the city of Philadelphia, but around the world. I just have one piece of, I may quibble with his commentary in reference to being the self-appointed basketball coach of City Council. I'm just saying that there is a film you may want to watch called Uncle Drew. So there may be some Uncle Drews in this body. I'm looking at possibly one in the big chair. So, thank you, Council President.
Sounds like a call out to me. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I just suggest and recommend to my two colleagues that we could take it up in a local public recreation center gym on any given morning, and so we can settle that statement. Thank you, Council President.
Councilman, I hear you, and as long as they ensure that it's only a half court, I might actually play. Thank you. There being no additional speeches, Chair recognizes Councilman Jones for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 6, 2020 at 10 a.m. No second?
Can we get a second? It's been moved and probably second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, February 6, 2020, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you all very much.